Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we're going to talk armies that are great for utter miniature wargaming noobs. In this video, I'm going to look at armies that are good for someone getting into miniature wargaming with Warhammer Age of Sigmar at the very beginning. There's going to be a few different criteria I'm going to use to look at this, which I think is a great way to get in. But if you're looking to get into Age of Sigmar, you've never done miniature wargaming before, I think these armies would be great for you to get into. Now, this should be said that any army, if you really like the miniatures, is a great army for you to get into, but these ones definitely make that entry journey really easy for you with some of the things that we're going to talk about right now with our criteria. And so these are the 5 points of criteria I've put down for why I think these armies will be good. First of all, easy to build. I don't want any tricky kits, no fiddly bits or anything like that. That can be, time consuming, easy to break. One drop and this model breaks apart. A lack of metal kits is certainly a thing. Resin isn't quite as bad, but definitely a lack of that as well, though that in some cases isn't as bad depending which models are the resin miniatures. I also want it to be easy to paint. We want to have enough different textures on the models that we can learn to have different painting techniques. So, a model has armor, fur, skin, all of that, but we definitely want it to be in easier things. So we want to avoid armor without lots and lots of trim, though raised trim is certainly a lot easier to paint, and this can certainly be done when there are sort of made lines for you. We also want a simple playstyle. Now, this doesn't mean the army has to always be simple in its playstyle, but we definitely want an army you can pick up, put on the table, and just move models forward and punch stuff. And that's sort of how you want to play your first couple of games, learning the rules. Now, we then want box sets to be available to cheapen the entry cost, whether this is start collecting boxes, starter sets, or anything like that. Definitely having some of these box sets available really does make entry nice and easy. And on the talk of box sets as well, smaller box sets being available for these armies as well for quick entry play into other game systems that are sort of subsidiaries of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, whether that be Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, Warhammer Underworlds, or Warhammer Skirmish. All of these having, some models to be able to play in those games in a quick little box, I think is really nice and a great way to sort of get you in and test out some of the armies. And so, number 1, Stormcast Eternals. I don't think this should be a surprise to many. These are the poster men and women of the Mortal Realms. Now, first of all, to paint them, you've got large flat areas to paint of that armor. They take really well to just spray painting, washing, and then a dry brush over them. But you've also got the ability to learn many other techniques when painting your Stormcast Eternals as well. They have some unique units and some mounts that can provide you with other textures. You've got cloaks on some of the miniatures. You've also got a variety of different weapons that maybe light up, so you can practice some more advanced techniques as you get more confident and learn what to do with your painting. They've also got many easy to build kits that not only save on your pocket, these are generally cheaper kits, and most of them are the Sacrosanct Stormcast Eternals chamber models, but they also, as the name would suggest, easy to build, requiring no glue to build the models. They do feature in the current Warhammer Age of Sigmar starter sets, and they have a variety of start collecting boxes, though some of those are slowly being discontinued. They've featured in the Mortal Realms magazine that is still available at some places around the world, and also generally Stormcast most of the time see Christmas bundle deals come out. If there's ever bundle deals coming out, Stormcast normally feature in them. You've got a good chance of seeing one there. Now, they've also got a low skill floor when playing. This means they're really simple to play at a very basic level. They have an army that can do everything. You can have shooting, you can have combat, you can have magic, you can have priests, you can have cavalry, you can have whatever you want in a Stormcast Eternals army because they have so many unit options. This does mean you've got a very high ceiling. As you begin to learn more and more of the different units, you can really grow as a player with this particular army. On top of that, you've got multiple Underworlds warbands for the army. This is great for allowing you to play in some of the smaller model count game systems while you wait to build up a Warhammer Age of Sigmar, or indeed see if you enjoy painting your miniatures or anything like that, or enjoy tabletop wargaming. Warhammer Underworlds, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, fantastic place for these miniatures. Number 2, the Ironjaws. Simple and easy to build models. They've got a distinct lack of fiddly bits. All the models are pretty hardy. I've dropped my own Ironjaws models many a time and they've never broken. And another cool thing, the entire range of miniatures is in plastic. This is great for building, converting and doing all your favourite hobby stuff. Now, also, like the Stormcast Eternals before, they are super easy to paint. Large areas of armour can take up, bright colours like blues, greens and reds really easily, but also work just as well being in a nice metallic like gold, bronze or silver. You've also got the effect that they're green skins, so they've got green skin. This is actually a lot easier to paint than your regular skin tones. Can really make that sort of job a lot easier to do. Game-wise, this army is really simple. It likes to run forwards and fight. It's got some cool chain abilities that can teach you the importance of things like timing within the game, which I think is really nice. The army also has a start collecting box, which is really cool, gives you a bunch of cool miniatures for the army. And you can also find another Auric force, the Kruleboyz, in the Age of Sigmar starter set, which can be used together with the Ironjaws, though it should be said the Kruleboyz certainly aren't as simple to play as the Ironjaws. That combined force actually brings together all 3 Auric forces, though, in your Ironjaws, your Kruleboyz, and your Bone Splitters, another type of Auric, into one force called the Big Waa. You've lastly got a bunch of different warbands from Warhammer Underworlds for a bunch of the different types of Aurics that you can use. These are great. A couple of these combined can bring you a really nice Warcry warband, or you can indeed use them in Warhammer Underworlds as well. Number 3, the Ogre Moor Tribes. Now, the large quantity of the range, the majority of it is in plastic. However, they do have some resin miniatures within the range, and they maybe even have a couple of metal miniatures. However, for me, this is not as big as an issue due to the Ogre's size. Now that may sound like a problem, more so with the metal miniatures, but the resin ones where resin is lighter, this actually gives quite a large surface for the resin to bond together with superglue, which I think makes them rather easy to build. Though it should be said that many of the resin miniatures are not the ones you're going to be using as the core foundation for your army. Now, while there may be many different loads of textures to paint on your ogres, they've generally got cloth, fur, skin, metal, wood, leather, all on the same miniature. Many of these are generally in rather larger areas and generally in larger mass. This means it's relatively easy to paint all these different areas. They're actually really good, I think, ogres for learning how to paint with. Because you've got all these different textures, you can learn lots of different things while having none of them be too ridiculously difficult to comprehend and come to terms with. Now, like the Ironjaws in the game, the ogres just want to move forward and smash. They also do have some nice little tricksy sort of mechanics within their units that can outflank, that can do some cool pile-in moves and stuff like that. So definitely is some tricks you can learn with the army to sort of improve your game. The Army Start Collecting Box as well is perhaps one of the best available at current. Just by grabbing 4 of them, in fact we should have a list in the video linked up the top, you can have a full 2,000 point army on the cheap, or cheap-ish, for Warhammer. A couple of Warhammer Underworlds warbands as well give you some really cool, unique miniatures for the army. One of the warbands into particular, Hrothgar's Mantrap, is actually a really good unit for the main game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar as well. Number 4, we have Slaves to Darkness. Now, this is going to talk about a few of the different criteria all in once. The Start Collecting Box for the army, yes, they have one, is actually made up of easy to build models. So, easy to build miniatures in a Start Collecting Box at a cheaper cost sounds pretty good to me. And while you do have a few miniatures that have trim on their armor, you can certainly leave these alone, I think, when starting to paint. There is certainly no need to go and learn how to do your trimming right away. Paint your main armor color all over the trim as you would the rest of the model and your armor, and then just put your wash down, and I think you'll be fine, definitely for starting, and until you grow confident enough to paint the trim. I think a lot of stuff is overstated with people having to go, oh, I have to paint the trim. Not always. Like, there's a lot of different Space Marine chapter miniatures that don't actually have different trim color to their armor, and they look perfectly fine. You also got plenty of ease to play. Your basic Chaos troops, your warriors, knights, and all of that, your Chaos chariots, Chaos lords, Chaos sorcerers, are pretty simple to put down on the table. The army also, though, has plenty of room for you to grow as a player. There's so many different units in this book. You've got a really, really deep bench, and we're also going to get more of these in the near future. As we know, a new Slaves to Darkness battle tome is coming at the end of the year, which is only going to add to all the goodness I've already talked about here. Lastly, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, the first series of it, was pretty much Chaos exclusive, so there are so many miniatures you can pick up for Warcry to get playing a game on the tabletop right away. On top of that, you even have Warhammer Underworld's warbands as well, just giving you another great way to get into the hobby. And number 5, the Serifon. Now, you have a lot of simple to build models. They may be older miniatures, but a lot of them are in plastic. They do have some resin and potentially some metal miniatures in their range, but I think you can get away with not including many of them, though there are definitely some miniatures that are pretty good that are resin, but generally they're larger miniatures, so not quite as big an issue. Now, they are pretty simple to build as well, though, which is great. Even the large monsters, I think, are really simple to build. Some of them can have a little bit of flimsy bits on there, so you may need to be careful with some of the larger monsters, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue with your bigger troops. For painting wise, scales and skin in the exotic colours you see are easily painted with basic mechanics like contrast and dry brushing techniques, which makes them come up really fast. The army also, at its core, has some pretty simple forces to play. The Monster Mash army, playing armies of Saurus on the table, are all pretty simplistic in how they play. Well, you've got 2 types of Serifon, one called the Coalesced. You'll find these in your Battle Tome rules, and I definitely recommend looking at the Coalesced Serifon and learning how to play the game with them. They're much easier to play and much more straightforward than the Starborn King, which is definitely something you can look at playing later when you look to expand and learn different things for the army. You've actually got multiple star collecting kits for the army, one Skinks and one Serifon one, actually combined into a pretty cool little basic army force. Lastly, you've got a single Warhammer Underworlds warband to add into the army as well, which is great for Underworlds and also for playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry with as well. That's it for our 5 armies that are great for miniature wargaming noobs. What do you think of them? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Love to hear what everyone thinks. Great armies. What armies do you recommend to a new player that's like completely new to miniature wargaming? What armies don't you? Let us know down in the comments below. And if you are a brand new player finding this and you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below as well. That's the end of the video, everyone. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, drop us a comment down below in the comment section and let us know what you enjoyed about the video and what you'd like to see more of on the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here we have at Sinful Gaming, you can do so on our Discord server, which is linked in the video's description. Also linked in the video's description is our Patreon and YouTube members where you can go to help support the channel and allow us to keep doing what we're doing. As a special thank you to our Patreons and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons, Christian Weir, Soren, Greenskins Gaming, Kenny Lauer, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ant, Q Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Derek, and Giappy390, and to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, and Monty's Tabletop Terrain. And lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Thank you all for watching. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now, everyone.